Because of low water content and acidic pH, honey is chemically hostile to bacteria and yeast. It is so stable that jars recovered from ancient Egyptian tombs have been found perfectly preserved after thousands of years. We interact with it today as a simple grocery staple, often overlooking the massive biological effort required to put it on the shelf. A single healthy hive will produce and consume more than 50 kilograms of honey in a single year. To produce just 1 pound of that honey, a colony's foragers must collectively fly a distance equal to 3 trips around the world, visiting as many as 8 million flowers. A loose swarm of insects acting independently cannot achieve this level of output. Reaching this scale requires a degree of social coordination rarely seen in the animal kingdom. To maintain the hive's food supply, foragers must constantly leave the colony to scan the surrounding miles for resources. When a scout finds a viable source, she doesn't keep the location to herself. She returns home to broadcast the exact geographical coordinates to the rest of the workforce. In the early 20th century, Carl von Frisch identified the specific set of movements used to relay this data, a system of body language known as the waggle dance. The forager walks in a straight line while vibrating her wings and waggling her body before looping back in a figure-8 pattern. The angle she walks relative to the vertical line of the honeycomb tells the other bees which direction to fly relative to the sun. The duration of the waggle indicates the distance, while the intensity of her movement signals the quality of the nectar. By reading the polarization of light in the sky, these foragers can infer the sun's position and the time of day even through thick cloud cover, keeping the colony's navigational data accurate in almost any weather. Once a forager arrives at a flower, she uses a long, specially adapted tongue to slurp tiny sips of nectar into one of 2 stomachs. To fill this honey stomach, she might visit over 1,000 flowers. When full, the nectar can weigh nearly as much as the bee itself. On the flight back to the hive, her body begins introducing digestive enzymes into the raw nectar, initiating its chemical transformation. Inside the hive, the forager passes the nectar to a worker, who passes it to another. At each step of this regurgitation chain, new enzymes break long chains of complex sugars down into simple monosaccharides like fructose and glucose. To thicken the watery mixture, bees fan their wings to create a constant air current that evaporates moisture. Once the nectar reaches the correct consistency, they cap the cell with beeswax to let the honey finish curing. Honey is not simply gathered from flowers, it is an enzymatically altered product manufactured through relentless collective labor. This production line is sustained by a rigid social hierarchy, consisting of 3 castes: male drones, female workers, and the queen. A new queen's first act is to eliminate any newborn rivals. Her life is then dedicated to a single purpose, laying over 1,000 eggs every day to replenish the workforce. While unfertilized eggs become male drones, every fertilized egg is genetically female. At the larval stage, these females are identical. Any one of them has the potential to become a queen. Their destiny is dictated by diet. While all larvae are initially fed royal jelly, most are quickly switched to bee bread, a mixture of pollen and honey. Only the queen is fed royal jelly throughout her development. Researchers recently discovered that a specific chemical found in bee bread, the food queens don't eat, is what keeps the worker bees sterile. The hive maintains its massive, sterile workforce through a strict nutritional program, using chemistry to suppress the reproductive development of the masses. When you see these hives placed across blossoming orchards, you are looking at the microbiology of the hive meeting the macro scale of global agriculture. While a single bee is a simple creature, millions of them acting on the same biological programming function as a superorganism capable of altering the surrounding landscape. Humans manage these colonies not just for their honey, but for the vital byproduct of their search for food, the pollination of the world's flowering plants. 3/4 of the fruits, vegetables, and nuts we eat exist because of the labor of this insect workforce. Human survival is effectively anchored to the honeybee's search for sweetness, a biological dependency that sustains the global food supply. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to Deep Dive Daily, hitting that like button, and dropping a comment below.